Y'all need to help Stephen Phillips out over there. Out the door and off the radio.
Here's Stephen Phillips.
All righty, folks, we're back with you, and very excited to have John Templeman with Jib Machine Records with us this morning. Good morning. How are you, brother?
Good. How you doing, Steve?
Man, we're just getting rained on down here in Georgia. How is it up there where you're at?
It's actually nice. Usually we have bad weather. It's pretty unpredictable this time of year, but it's going to be in the 60s and sunny over the next couple days. So life is good. Can't complain.
Now, where are you located at?
Cleveland. Ohio.
So now, now that's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame there in Cleveland, is it not?
It is. I live downtown. It's right around the corner from my condo. I could walk there in about 5 minutes.
Wow, that's cool. So now tell us about Jib Machine Records. First, how did you get the name, JIB?
It was kind of an inside joke with friends of mine.
Right.
It just, I thought it was a catchy name for a record label. And when I started the label, it was kind of by accident as well. I had put out was going to put out a solo acoustic album and needed means to distribute it. So I started Jib Machine. Around the same time, I also started a band that I was in for many years called Hot Ham and Cheese. And when that band started playing out, the bands we would play with would just ask me, hey, can we be on your label? And that's kind of really how it started. And it's been going from there. That was 18 years ago.
Wow.
That I started the label. So it's,
so now how many people's on the label now do you have?
How many bands now?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I honestly don't even know.
Hey, that's a good problem to have.
We've probably got about 12 to 15 bands, because there's some bands that have been on the label that, you know, or if they wanted to put a record out, I would put it out, but they're just not active. But we have quite a few bands that are active right now.
So let me ask you something.
Mainly all in the rock genre, but various, you know, subgenres of rock.
Hey, I've been going through it. You got some great artists on your label, no doubt about it, and especially rock. I call it rock. I think it's all rock. You know,
yeah.
And that. But you know, I'm a country hillbilly, and we got a band down here we play with. But this is something that now you're in the record business, and you know, I can remember coming up, we had cassettes, and then went to CDs, and everybody had the CDs, and that was a big thing. But now, I mean, cars today don't even have CDs in them, and I always ask, you know, all the artists that we have on, how are you releasing it? I mean, it's all digital now, and it seems like singles have took back over from like in the 50s. So, and then some people go with the records. Actually, the old records seem like is kind of coming back, but that's expensive. What's your take on that? How do you release the music?
That's a great question. Usually what we do is a limited run of CDs. So you have physical product. We also do release cassettes too. We've released a number of, things on cassette. I do some third-party distributing for other labels. And in that regard, I have distributed vinyl, but it is, as you said, expensive. And at this point, it's really, it's not easy to get something pressed on vinyl. It takes a long time. Jack White from the White Stripes just posted a video yesterday pleading to the big three major labels to build vinyl pressing plants again, because right now, if you want to get a vinyl record pressed, you're waiting anywhere from about 7 months to a year.
Wow.
To get your record. That's how much of the demand there is. So in addition to it being expensive, it kind of holds things up for you as well. And then of course we put everything out digitally. Jib is signed with a major distributor, so we can get our physical products, on the online stores, Amazon and those types of places. Also could get it in brick and mortar stores if necessary. We do have a presence overseas, especially in Europe. We move quite a few units in Europe, probably just as many, if not more, than we do in the States of the physical product. But then we're digitally all over the place, all the major services and whatnot.
But I find a lot of musicians in America, they go to Europe and then they really do good, and then they come back to America and take off. Is that something you've seen still going on today? I mean, I know a lot of folks that toured Europe and then come back and made a big splash in America.
Or I know a lot of bands that have gone to Europe and make enough money touring there for a few months, and they come back to the States and then do whatever they do, whether they have a side job or work on other things, and then they go back to Europe and tour another 2-3 months. Now this was pre-COVID, so I don't know what's happening over there right now, honestly.
Right.
Jib has a band from Sweden that is based in Sweden, but they're not doing much in terms of playing live right now. And I don't know with everything going on in Ukraine at this point, like who knows what the European market is going to be like.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be over playing a gig and a bomb go off. I'm with you on that 100%. Man.
I had some friends were there. They had started a major tour in February of 2020, and they planned this like 3-4 month tour, and they spent all kind of money on T-shirts, and they were about to release a vinyl record. And 2 months into their tour, things started getting canceled. And next thing you know, they were on a plane. They were living in Nashville at the time, on a plane back to Nashville, and just kind of screwed their whole everything up. Screwed everything up that they had planned. That happened to a lot of artists. The whole COVID thing really, really hurt a lot of artists in that regard. And it still hasn't recovered yet. I mean, people are touring and whatnot, but even I read articles where Billy Joel was saying that, people they're buying tickets, but they're not showing up to his shows at Madison Square Garden.
Right.
And I just read an interview with the drummer from Mastodon, and he said the same thing about their fall tour. He said they sold a lot of tickets, but you'd look out in the audience and there were obviously people that bought a ticket and did not come.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I'm all for that. That'd be pretty cool. Just sell your tickets and not show up. I just said the house.
Get the money.
Yeah, get the money and run, man. But now this COVID, like you say, it has hurt musicians, the entertainment industry, as far as musicians all the way around. And I've got a buddy of mine, Paul Thorne. He played in some gigs in Georgia over the weekend, and I asked him about the crowds on that. He said the crowds are still up because now we're facing this high fuel prices, and so people are saying, okay, am I going to give $50 for a ticket, or am I going to buy gas to get to work? And I think it seemed like it's just never ending for the entertainment industry. And it's the whole trickle down economics thing, right?
I mean, when Hot Ham and Cheese was pretty active, we did a tour with a band that is still on my label, the Hostile Omish. We did a tour with them. God, it was a while ago. It was in 2008, and that was when we had those issues back then in 07 and 08. With the housing market and everything. And we had a van and a bus. And by the time we got to California, gas was over $4 a gallon, which at that time, that was really unheard of,
right.
Those years ago. And it really hurt us. We made good money on that tour and sold a lot of merch and made a lot of new fans. But we came home, if gas would have been reasonably priced, we would have came home with a few $1,000s. Instead, we barely broke even.
Yeah, I can.
Because we had to put gas in, 2 vehicles that were,
burning
fuel
some
suckers.
Fuel. Yeah. Folks, we're talking to John Templeman. Go to JibMachineRecords.com, and you can see all the stuff that he's got going on, and that is the record label out of Cleveland. So that's pretty cool, no doubt. So now let me ask you another question. You've got so many artists now, and everybody that you talk to in the music industry on my side, they're like, well, I'm looking for a record deal. I'm looking for a record deal. How do you go about finding? Are you looking for people now? And how do you go as far as saying, hey, I think I'd like to sign this band. This band I think is pretty hot. I think this is something we can work with.
Yeah, I always got my eye on what's going on, at least locally in Cleveland. A lot of the bands on Jib Machine, if I didn't know them personally, I knew them through the grapevine.
Right.
Like someone that I know and trust introduces me to them, and that's kind of how that happened. Or an artist on the label has another project, and they say, hey, would you check out this band? And if they fit with what we're doing and we can make something work out, then we do that. I have a band signed to the label, the Nihilistics. They are, that people may have heard of them. They're one of the original hardcore punk bands from New York City. They started in '79. They were a CBGB's band, used to play with like the Dead Boys and bands like that. And they signed with Jib Machine last year, and we're reissuing a lot of their back catalog, and they're going to be coming out with some new material probably sometime next year.
Right.
But through my relationship with them, I signed another band from New Jersey, and this hasn't even been announced. It's actually going to be announced later this week, called W70.
Mm-hmm.
But had I not, had the relationship with the Nihilistics, and then had they not had their relationship with W70 and said, you should talk to these guys, I probably wouldn't have signed them. So that's kind of how things happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of these people that, really combs the internet or clubs and actively looks. It's just things typically happen.
Mm-hmm.
I also have an artist on the label. This has not been officially announced, but she's from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Her name's Cleo Alexandra. She's a rock singer, and I'm in a partnership with a couple other people. But that's how she was signed. Was a friend of mine who's been in the music business for many, many years came to me and said, "There's this artist. We should do something with her. Are you interested?"
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at everything and said, "Yeah, let's do this. Let's see what we can do." So her album will come out later this year as well. So that's kind of how things usually happen with Jib Machine. I mean, everybody's different, but that's usually how I operate.
Now you're in, as far as Jib Machine Records, you're in distribution, but now do you also do tour managing or anything like that goes along with that?
No, that's not tour man. I mean, I kind of do some management of artists. I think, every relationship that I have with the artists, I mean, each one is different. Each contract is similar but different.
Mm-hmm.
Some artists are more established, like the Nihilistics or like the Blindside Blues Band. But then there's others that are, just trying to build their audience and, aren't as well known. So they may need more attention, or their needs are different than, a band that's been around the block.
Right.
So I think over the years, I've picked up a number of skills. So it's just a matter of what they need. Touring and booking, things like that. I've done independent tours for bands I've been in, but it's not something that, booking, major tours is not anything that I've done. We do shows.
Right.
We'll do like a Jib Machine show, where, it may be in Cleveland or a city surrounding Cleveland, and we'll have, 3, 4, 5 bands from the label on the bill.
Right.
And it would be, like a showcase almost, but in terms of full-fledged tours, that's a whole nother level of, complexity that there's only so much time in the day,
I'm with you, man. I know that's right. But now, are you still playing? Are you still doing your thing?
Actually, yeah. So Hot Ham and Cheese is on an indefinite hiatus. We played our last show in November of 2019, but then right before COVID, I started a solo album, and I have released quite a few projects under the moniker JT Temp 13.
Right.
It was always more just like on the side because Hot Ham and Cheese was my main priority. But I worked on this record for a couple of years, and it came out on February 25th. It's called America or Bust.
Right.
And so you can buy that you could stream that anywhere. You could buy it. If you go to jibmachinerecords.com, we actually have a redirect to our online store because we have a new website launching later this month, actually.
Right.
In a couple of weeks. And so I released America or Bust, and then there's a video out on YouTube doing the rounds and getting circulated right now called Kenopsia, which is the main single. It's actually technically the second single from the record because I released a song called Liberty Street back in November of last year, well before the album came out. But Kenopsia, I dropped a lyric video for that, and that is that's making its rounds. It's doing pretty well. It's in about 3 weeks. It's got a little over 4,000 views.
Well, that's working along. I love the name. I love the name Hot Ham and Cheese, man. That just makes me hungry right there.
We were a good time. We were a power trio.
Right.
Kind of when we started off, we were hardcore punk. Right. And then sort of evolved over time. And I'd say our last record was closer to progressive rock than anything else. It's just one of those things that ran its course, Same 3 guys. We put out 4 full-length albums. We, toured all over the country, And it was great, but it was just, you know, when it's time to move on and do things, especially from a creative perspective, I think we took it as far as we were going to take it. You know, never know what the future holds, but I don't see that coming back anytime soon, personally.
We got to keep on keeping on, man. I'm telling you, the music, I mean, I look in this, everybody's been with the shutdown with COVID, and we've talked to a lot of different songwriters and musicians, and they have been sitting at the house writing new music, and I think there's fixing to be an explosion if we can get through all this nonsense that's going on of new music coming out, and really excited about it. Just go to JibMachineRecords.com, and you can check out all the stuff that he's got going on and all the different bands. I mean, like I said, he don't even know how many he's got going on with that. But, you know, one of the things, you know, you got the music distribution, and seems like there's not a lot of money left right now in songwriting, but everything is in the live shows. Are you finding that in your area too?
Yeah. I mean, you could sometimes we'll get things licensed, which there's money in that. But yeah, really, if you want to make a lot of money, unless you've built a major online following, you know, and get, you know, hundreds of thousands of streams, the live show is always where it's at. I mean, you know, things change in the music business, and there's fads, and, you know, you know, like you were saying, now vinyl records are, you know, very important.
Right.
You know, where, you know, even like 10 years ago, it was more of a novelty. But the only way to really, and I still believe this, the way to really build a following and really get people to get into what you're doing is to play live. I mean, that's where it's at. And, you know, COVID did hurt. Obviously, it hurt a lot of artists, but hopefully we're on the rebound from that. You know, as we talked about earlier in this conversation, it's slowly coming back, but hopefully by next year, you know, knock on wood, hopefully by next year, things will be fully back to normal. And, you know, independent artists, you know, could get back on the road and do what they do and earn a living.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, you know, I'm talking about with the CDs and the records and stuff like that, because when they go to live shows, everybody wants something to sign, you know, and a lot of people buy the records or buy the CDs just so they can get an autograph, and you don't have that.
Yeah, you're essentially, when you're on the road, you're essentially a traveling T-shirt salesman.
Yeah,
right. And the music's kind of, you sell your music, but, you know, people, you're making your money on shirts and whatnot. And that's, you know, from experience, when you tour, you may get some money from the club, you may get some of the door, you may get a guarantee, but really where bands are making their money is slinging merch.
Yeah.
And you know, and again, that's how you get your music in people's hands directly. That's how you sell them a shirt that they'll wear, and people will go, who's JT Temp 13? You know, that's what you have to do. So I haven't played any shows to support this record yet, but I would like to do some solo shows, you know, this year at some point, and you know, really try to promote what I just spent 2 years of my life making.
Yeah,
you know?
And I know you're proud of it. Listen, we're fixing to have to get to break. Anything we're forgetting, I mean, I'll try to cover everything we can in a short amount of time, but we're fixing to have to get to break.
Stephen, you did a great job. The only other thing I'll say is earlier this year, Jib Machine also launched an offshoot label called Electric Stick Records, ELECTRIK Stick Records, and it's an EDM, ambient, electronic music label. You know, because we're primarily rock, we didn't want to mix the brands up. So we started Electric Stick because they're, I actually do some electronic music, but there's other artists that will be featuring through that, and even remixes of rock songs in the electronic genre that we've released and will be releasing through that new label imprint.
That's cool. Hey, man, I say bring back the disco. When's disco coming back? You're in the record business. What happened to disco?
That would be cool, wouldn't it? Not only disco, but the whole vibe of disco.
Yeah.
Like, let's have Studio 54 again.
Oh, I'm with you, man. I'm telling you, everybody makes fun of me, but I'm telling you, we need a disco. Everybody complains about country music. It's not country anymore, but nobody says anything about disco. So anyway, but man, there's
some good country artists. I'm not the biggest fan of country music, but I'll tell you who I love: Chris Stapleton.
Oh yeah,
he's fantastic.
Yeah,
I love all his. I just got his latest album a couple of weeks ago on vinyl, ironically, and I think it's fantastic.
He's got some good stuff, man. He's got some good stuff, no doubt about it. But anyway, we got to get to a break. John Templeman, we appreciate you, brother. Templeman, excuse me. And we get you back on. Let us know what's going on, because I like to keep up with this record music and the music going on, the industry and all that kind of stuff, and especially the independent artists. We need to support them all we can.
Anytime, Stephen. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for spending a little time with us. And remember, you can tune in every morning at WJULradio.com at 8 a.m. Eastern. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook, The Morning Dish.